Namaste. Welcome everyone. My name is Kristyn and thank you so much for choosing to be here today. In this video, I'm going to be guiding you through a very short Yoga Asana Clinic, a posture clinic for Kapotasana or Pigeon Pose. This will be a step-by-step guide to break down the alignment cues so that you can really establish a sense of what this pose truly feels like within your body. And for today's practice, you might reach for a yoga mat, maybe even a blanket to support the knees, the lower part of the body. And please know that this is just a wonderful posture to open up the hips. You can think of it like a 360-degree exploration of the hips. On one side, we're going to be exploring outward and external rotation, while simultaneously on the other side, we explore extension across the front of the hip flexors, specifically the psoas muscle. So there's so much that we can experience here in Pigeon Pose. I will also be offering room for variation and modifications to suit your body best. So we are going to explore a little bit of Pratapana, a little bit of a warm-up before diving right into Kapotasana pose today. So I invite you to come down onto the back of the body. And slowly begin to hug the knees up into the chest, land in little boat pose, and just for a moment rock a little bit from side to side. Just massaging at the low back, the sacral area. Pigeon pose is really a wonderful opportunity, a preparatory pose for any good deep hip openers, but also very gentle back bends. You might even trace the knees in the shape of a circle, just starting to explore that range of motion in the hip joints. Gently moving in one direction and then the other direction. You might even take your knees wide apart, external rotation, and then spin them around and back together again. Exploring now the individual range of motion within the hip joints, really just feeling the top of the femur within the hip socket. And if you're moving in one direction, I just invite you to explore the opposite direction. There's no rush, but this helps us to find balance. Good, and then bring your knees back to center. Let your feet fall to the earth. Scoot your heels in nice and close to your bum. So the knees are stacked over top of the ankles. Relax your arms down by your sides. We'll come into thread the needle or figure 4 shape, sometimes known as sleeping pigeon. Extend the right leg high to the sky. Flex the right foot, turn the toe pads out to the right, and then bend the right knee, bring the right ankle to the top of the left thigh. For a moment, just let the right knee fall away from you here. Keep a flex of the right foot to protect the right knee, and you can stay here if you're feeling receptive, if you feel sensation, or you can take a block underneath the left foot. Or finally, you can thread your arms in between the legs, reach for the back of the left hamstring or the front of the left shin, whichever feels accessible to you here, but looking to relax the head and the upper back body, the shoulders. So the sensation, the movement simply comes out of the right hip joint. You might even feel called to sway very gently from side to side. So bringing that right hip into outward external rotation. So you might experience sensation in and around the right hip joint. You might even close down through the eyes and just notice where you feel it. Just one more breath here. Then slowly release the left foot down. Uncross the right leg. We'll come right onto the other side so you can extend the left leg high, flex the left foot, turn those toes out to the left, bend the left knee and bring the left ankle to the top of the right thigh. Again, flex the left foot to protect the left knee here. You can stay here, introduce a block underneath the right foot, or thread your arms in between the legs to reach for the back of the right hamstring or the front of the right shin. Allow the head, the neck, the shoulders to rest heavy on the earth. So you're not lifting the chest up, but simply just finding a place that feels accessible where you can rest the upper back body down. And again, you might feel called to gently rock a little side to side. Just 2 more breaths. This is a wonderful variation. If at any point in your yoga asana practice, pigeon pose doesn't feel right for you in your body, in this figure 4 shape or thread the needle, you can still experience the same sensations, but just a much milder variation. When you're ready, let the right foot come down, extend the left leg high, bring both feet to the earth. Send your right arm up overhead, roll over onto the right side, and make your way gently into tabletop position. So this is a wonderful opportunity if you want to introduce a blanket on top of your mat to support knee health. But just take a moment to stack the joints. So bring the shoulders over the wrists, the hips over the knees. You might tuck the toes or have the tops of the feet press onto the earth. From here, just start to trace nice big circles with the hips. So again, just feeling into that range of motion in the hip joints. Good, and then naturally start to move in the opposite direction. And it might be little circles, it might be big circles, just whatever feels best for your body. And then slowly allow the circles to become smaller and smaller until you arrive back in tabletop pose. From here, we'll come into Pigeon Pose Kapotasana on the left side. So begin to shift your weight into your right knee and slide the left knee towards the left wrist. Hook the left ankle to the right, and then begin to inch that right leg back. Tuck the toes under so that the right quad faces the earth. This helps to ensure that your hips stay square to the top of the mat. And now if your hips are lifted, that's okay. Take a block, a cushion, something underneath your left hip to support your body here. You can also tuck your left heel in nice and close towards the body. And when your hips are square, protecting the low back, the sacral area, you can untuck those back toes, lengthen from root to crown, and then begin to hinge at the hip and bow forward over the left knee or shin. Ensuring that the left knee is in line with the left hip here. You might take a block or a pillow underneath the forehead to support the cervical spine and the neck. Closing down through the eyes and just noticing what this posture feels like in your body. And now if Pigeon Pose doesn't feel right for you today, please know you can always explore figure 4 shape or thread the needle, or shift all of your weight into your left hip here. Bend the right knee out to the right side and find deer pose. So you're coming into this sort of pinwheel zigzag shape within the legs. And again, you can hinge at the left hip and bow forward. So much gentler variation, but you still can experience all the therapeutic benefits of deer or pigeon pose, that external outward rotation in the left hip. When you're ready to come out, ground into your palms, lift the chest. If you're in deer pose, extend the right leg back. And then the left knee meets the right back in tabletop pose. A nice counter shape, you could extend the left leg back, press into the ball of the left foot as if you're trying to send the left heel towards the back of the room. Bring that extension across the front of the left hip. Or find some of those nice hip circles, something that feels good in recovery. And we'll come right to the other side from tabletop. So begin to slide the right knee towards the right wrist, hook the right ankle to the left, and then tuck the back toes under and just inch that left knee back. So your left quad faces the earth, your hips are square to the top of your mat. Again, you might introduce a block underneath the right hip here, or a pillow or a cushion. Bring your fingertips beside your hips, right knee in front of right hip. You can hug that right heel in nice and close, and then untuck the back toes, lengthen from root to crown, and then hinge at the right hip, bow forward. And so as I mentioned before, simultaneously we're experiencing external outward rotation in the right hip. And in the front of the left hip now, there's that extension, that deep stretch across the front of the hip flexors, specifically the psoas muscle that runs cross body from front to back. And just noticing any difference between left and right side. Breathing deep down into the hip, into all the places where you feel sensation. And then when you feel ready again, ground into the palms, lift the chest, tuck the back toes under, and just send that right knee back to meet the left in tabletop. Again, you might find some hip circles or something that feels good in recovery. As we've been spending a lot of time on the knees, you might even tuck your toes under, press your hips up and back. Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. Knowing that you can always explore the transition from down dog into pigeon pose, or simply just stay with tabletop to pigeon. When you're ready, come back to a comfortable seated position. Let your hands rest on top of your thighs. Sit up tall and just close down through the eyes and just notice how you feel here. Noticing the essence of pigeon pose and the feeling tone within your body. And I would love to thank you all so much for practicing with me today. If you are here from the 200-hour Embodied Wisdom Yoga Teacher Training, please leave a like and a comment so that we know that you are here, and so we can follow along your journey throughout the training program. If you are feeling called to a teacher training, please get in touch with us. We would love to connect with you. This online platform has opened up this training to like-minded beings and students from all around the world, and we would love to connect with you. As well, we are traveling down south to Costa Rica in February 2023 for yoga retreats. So if that feels like something that interests you as well, please get in touch with us. Finally, if you haven't already, please know that you can subscribe to my channel to get notified when new content comes out each and every week. Yoga Nidra recordings, these Yoga Asana clinics, yoga practices. There's so much content there for you to explore. And I'd like to thank you again from the bottom of my heart, because without you, I would not be where I am. I wish you a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste.